In view of China's growing economic coercion and its belligerent tactics to bully its neighbours, India and the United States are strengthening their strategic partnership at breakneck speed. Whether it is through bilateral cooperation, the Quad grouping or other multifarious platforms, the two have reiterated their commitments of confronting Beijing's agenda that is principally based on intruding sovereign lands, colonizing countries through debt trap or flexing muscles against smaller nations. No wonder Beijing is rattled and has further stepped up its designs.
It's not just the rapidly expanding trade and the arms sales that is bringing New Delhi and Washington closer, but a growing Chinese threat in the Indo-Pacific, including its unilateral bid at expansionism, control over major trade routes on both land and sea, and its hostile intrusions in others' territories that has prompted a robust alliance to counter it all. This alliance of the oldest and the largest democracies, India and the US, is committed to containing China's unprincipled and, in some cases, outrightly illegal claims. While the first in-person Quad summit a few days ago had laid the groundwork for the future course of action vis-à-vis rules-based global order and operations in the Indo-Pacific, the recent visit of Deputy US Secretary of State Wendy Sherman clearly underlined how things were going to unfold if Beijing didn't rein in its intolerable designs.
We will challenge China where we must, where it undermines our interests, the interests of our partners and allies, or threatens the rules-based international order. I think we in India are like-minded in that regard.
This deepening partnership, however, is irritating the men in Chinese power corridors. Beijing's media mouthpieces have already been working overtime to discredit and malign the alliance. Apparently, it is the apprehension over the global superpower joining hands with an equal Chinese counterweight, India, that is driving them deranged. In an explosive report released earlier this year, the US State Department confirmed that China wants to constrain India's strategic partnership with the US, its allies, and other democracies as it perceives rising India as a rival. But despite all this, it is the Chinese who have grown increasingly aggressive in the last few months. A double-faced Chinese leadership has been rapidly expanding its airfield along India's Ladakh region, where two sides had agreed to disengage after multiple rounds of talks post a violent clash between the two sides. And now India, left with no option but to respond in the sole code of communication that Beijing comprehends, is ramping up border infrastructure, procuring weaponry, testing missiles, and is increasing its troops. S-400 anti-aircraft system is just weeks away from India's possession. While the Indian Army is consistently expanding its arsenal, the Indian Air Force is all set to increase the number of its fighting squadrons in the coming months.
The S-400, as per the contract and on schedule, hopefully should be inducted within this year, the first unit.
So definitely there has been an increase in their deployment in the forward areas, which remains, of course, a matter of concern for us. But we are regularly monitoring all their movements, and based on whatever inputs we get, we are also carrying out matching developments both in infrastructure as well in terms of the troops that are needed to counter any threat.
Amid all this, a US support both at the bilateral and multilateral level has rattled China. And not just China. Its stooge in South Asia, Pakistan, which has been lately plotting and executing some of the most devious plans in the region, including the one in Afghanistan, is also worried at this evolving arrangement. The United States, which considered Pakistan an ally until a few months back, has terminated all forms of leadership-level communications in light of its role in the violent Taliban capture of Afghanistan. Pakistan's foreign ministry's correspondence with its embassy in the United States has revealed that it has grown desperate over the US president not considering even talking with Pakistan PM Imran Khan. And this so-called great game in the region, which China and Pakistan thought they were in the driver's seat of, is unfolding differently, and to the displeasure and discomfort of the duo, it is going away from them.